I will deliver material about impulse and momentum. What do you think about impulse and momentum? Okay. Have you ever witnessed a collision between two vehicles on a highway? What happens when two vehicles collide? When viewed from basic, whether a collision is fatal or not are determined by the momentum of the vehicles. To understand more about this, let's study the material of momentum and impulse. In basic, momentum is defined as the quantity possessed by a moving object. The amount of momentum will depend on the mass and velocity of the object. Mathematically, momentum can be written as P equals M multiplied V. Okay, where P is the momentum. M is the object mass, kilogram. V is the object velocity, meter per second. Okay, based on this formula, it can be seen that momentum is proportional to the velocity of the object. Thus, the direction of momentum is the same as the direction of its velocity. Besides, then the greater the velocity of an object, the greater its momentum. Meanwhile, the impulse is the product of the average force and the time interval the force acts. Mathematically, the impulse can be written as impulse equal force multiplied delta T, where I is the impulse in ns, F is the force exerted in Newton, and delta T is the time interval in second. Okay, next, impulse and momentum relationship. The relationship between impulse and momentum is explained by the impulse-momentum theorem. The impulse-momentum theorem states that an impulse acting on an object equals the change in momentum of the object. F exerted on an object is equal to the change in momentum delta P of the unit in time delta T. Mathematically, the relationship between impulse and change in momentum can be read as follows. Impulse equal delta P equal P2 minus P1. Momentum law of immunity. The law of momentum immunity states that if there is no external force acting on the system, then the object momentum before and after the collision is the same. This means that the total momentum of the system of object before the collision is always equal to the total momentum of the system of object after the collision. Mathematically, the law of momentum immunity can be written as follows. M1 multiplied V1 plus M2 multiplied V2 equals M1 multiplied V1 action plus M2 multiplied V2 action, where M1 is the mass of object 1. M2 is the mass of the object 2. V1 is the velocity of object 1 before the collision. F2 is the velocity of object 2 before the collision. V1 accent is the object velocity 1 after collision. V2 accent is the object velocity of object 2 after a collision. Okay, next, collision. Collision can be divided into 3 types, namely perfectly resilient collision, partially resilient collision, and non-fully resilient collision. To determine the type of collision, it can be seen from the restitution coefficient value, which is the negative value of the comparison between the relative velocity of the two objects after the collision and before the collision. The values of the restitution coefficient for the 3 types of collision are: number 1, in a perfectly resilient collision, the value of E equal 1. Number 2, in partially resilient collision, E more than 0 is less than 1. Number 3, in a non-resilient collision, E equals 0.